Hello, Patriots, and welcome back to the Patriot Dad channel, where we can discuss current events and modern issues, all while keeping it as real as possible. Last December, the World Health Organization put out a draft of what they called a pandemic treaty. I don't know if you've been following it over the last 9 months, but with everything going on in 2024, this kind of dropped off my radar, but I think it's something that's worth going back and revisiting. The potential future impact of this pandemic treaty, if it were to actually be passed, would be catastrophic, at least in my opinion. But before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that during the ramp up to the 2024 election, the Rogue Dermatologist and the Patriot Dad channel are collaborating to bring you another great deal. In remembrance of the attempt on Trump's life, if you follow the link to trumpmug24.com, it'll take you straight here. Scroll down, add it to your cart, go to checkout, enter the code PDMUG, and you'll save 20%. Take advantage of this offer while it's still available. Now, back to the video. So please make sure you support the channel either by taking advantage of that wonderful mug offer that you see here, which I think is really well designed by the Rogue Dermatologist, or come join us on X, come join us in the Discord, and join the conversation and let your voice be heard. Now, the point of today's video is to go over the Family Research Council's responding comments about this pandemic treaty. Now, any power that we cede to a globalist organization is a loss, in my opinion. It's supposed to be that our legislative branch, our executive branch, and our judicial branch make the decisions for our country. If we start to turn over power to these global organizations, we are going to start losing some of the freedoms that we have enjoyed for the 250 years that our country has been around. We see the impact of this in the UK right now. We see the impact of this down in South America. Any loss of free speech or control and sovereignty is not a good thing. You can review the document yourself, but I'm going to bring it up right here. Let's get zoomed in on it so you can read it. But you can see here that this was from January of 2024. You can read the whole document if you wish, and I highly encourage that you do. We see here that the WHO's completely different worldview. It must be recognized at the outset that the draft document is first and foremost a global political, economic, and social manifesto. Its worthiness as an international agreement dealing with the future pandemics only follows if one believes that the following will enhance a future pandemic response: yielding national sovereignty, centralizing international medical power in the WHO, global, national, and corporate censorship, the suppression of freedom of conscience, instituting multifaceted redistribution plans for income and assets across nations, mandating universal healthcare plans, appropriating intellectual property, sharing genetic information about diseases, sharing pandemic samples, and supporting quotas encompassing gender, not sex, diversity, etc. The draft agreement outlines an institution-building framework and process for creation of a web of freedom-strangling entities, legal regulatory mandates, and relationships that, when needed, can be switched on to function as a turnkey totalitarian state. This doesn't start very well, does it? Now, this is, again, the opinion of the Family Research Council. I tend to agree with it more than I disagree with it, but look, we can scroll down and see here that Article 3 of the draft agreement states that to achieve its objectives, the document will be guided by general principles and approaches as set forth in Article 3. One of those principles is equity. I don't know if you've heard that word before, but equity is not equality. Equity is a term that is typically used around authoritarian, socialist, or communist states. Equity is a neo-Marxist social justice theory, which uses a lot of jargon. The most effective terms are the ones that hijack the use of well-established terms that have established positive meanings that can be twisted to suit the movement's purpose. So let's see how equity is defined. In the draft agreement, equity is the center of pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response, both at the national level within states and at the international level between states. It requires inter alia specific measurements to protect persons in vulnerable situations. Equity includes the unhindered, fair, equitable, and timely access to safe, effective, quality, and affordable pandemic-related products and services, information, pandemic-related technologies, and social protection. Look, the word equity and equitable appear over 20 times in this document. Guys, this isn't a good thing. It's very good that this pandemic treaty failed, but if they do bring it back up, we really need to be aware of what's in it. Sovereignty, well, let's see what they think about that. States have, in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations and the general principles of international law, the sovereign right to legislate and to implement legislation in pursuant of their health policies. Interesting. It's noteworthy that the power structure here is inverted and the WHO is slyly asserting preeminence over nation states. Now, we've seen this in a lot of things. There was arguments that they should try and declare a public health emergency to circumvent our Second Amendment. These global organizations do not have your best interests at heart. The draft agreement also dives into the subject of censorship. The draft agreement presents the reader with the Orwellian conception of an infodemic. Infodemic means too much information, false or misleading information in digital and physical environments during a disease outbreak. It causes confusion and risk-taking behaviors that can harm health. It also leads to mistrust in health authorities and undermines public health and social measures. You mean like when they told us ivermectin didn't work at all? When they told us that the vaccine for C-19 was the thing everybody needed? That there were no side effects, that it was well tested and the science was settled, that it didn't come from a lab, that being on a respirator was the correct answer. Dr. Fauci and the medical establishment destroyed their credibility, and now they want to turn around and say that they may need to censor speech because there might be too much or false or misleading information during a pandemic. And if we go down here, again, I encourage you to read the entire document, but we can see here that Article 6 focuses on pandemic preparedness, readiness, and resilience. Each party is required to strengthen its health systems, which entails creating and maintaining up-to-date, universal, interconnected platforms and technologies for early detection, forecasting, and timely information sharing, including building digital health capabilities. Beating pandemics requires a newer, better surveillance state, apparently. Yeah. If they have to maintain this system, what other information are they going to put in it? It's probably not going to be limited to just diseases. As you saw, information sharing also would need to be tracked. What would the limits be? And it seems like the answer is none. Article 11 sets forth an entire intellectual property transfer and equitable redistribution framework that may override U.S. intellectual property statutes and is euphemistically described in language like this. The parties within a set time frame working through the new draft agreement bureaucracy shall strengthen existing and develop innovative multilateral mechanisms. Geez, this word salad is absolutely out of this world. Pooling of knowledge, intellectual property, and data that promote the transfer of technology and how the production of pandemic-related products on mutually agreed terms as appropriate to manufacture, particularly in developing countries. So you will no longer own the intellectual property of the medical research or work done. It's just going to be given to everybody. This sounds familiar. I believe it's Kamala Harris was just seen on video stating that she would just take intellectual property from people. I wonder where she got this idea.
I will snatch their patent so that we will take over. And yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. It's the question is, do you have the will to do it? I have the will to do it.
And the last one that I really want to go over with you is that the draft agreement is calling for the creation of a no-fault vaccine injury policy. Article 15 focuses on pandemic drug and vaccine-related products with respect to compensation and liability management. The new pandemic agreement bureaucracy shall establish within 2 years of the entry into force of the WHO pandemic agreement, using existing relevant models as reference, no-fault vaccine injury compensation mechanism. It is claimed that this is to get vaccine compensation funds available to the injured, but that seems like a ruse. The current payout rate for vaccine claims under the U.S. federally mandated system is so minimal that the approach appears to be nothing more than a way to deny the injured access to court. It is also not clear at all that vaccine makers should be absolved of claims based on fault. This provision appears to be a sop to the vaccine industry, the vaccine selling NGOs that provide massive funding to the WHO. So, as I stated earlier in the video, it really just seems like the World Health Organization is trying to circumvent our Constitution. They are trying to violate sovereignty. They are trying to steal intellectual property and redistribute things in an equitable manner. If that's the outcome you want, you probably shouldn't be living in the United States, because that is not the way that our system is set up, nor should it be. We've seen what equity means. It means taking away from others to give to somebody else. Equality is different. I highly encourage equality of opportunity, but equality of outcome is evil, is typically done at the end of a gun, and usually leads to great human suffering. Let us all pray that the World Health Organization just slinks off into the shadows and doesn't bring this back up. But with the Mpox, or monkeypox, outbreak that they are talking about right now during election season, I highly doubt they're just going to go away. In fact, I bet you by the end of the year, we're going to see this treaty come back up. Depending on the outcome of our elections, I bet you there will be a drastically different outcome if the WHO brings it up, and they may not bring it up at all if Kamala loses. But if she wins, don't be surprised. She's already talked about wanting to take somebody's intellectual property. That's right in line with this agreement. So thank you to those of you that made it to the end of this video. I greatly appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel in any other way, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, leaving comments, all of these things help with the algorithm and help get more eyes on these topics. If you want to help out in another way, you can go over to X and support me over there. You can subscribe there for $1. You can go to the Discord and start up a conversation with a fellow viewer and member of our community there. You can support the 2 deals that we have going on with the Rogue Dermatologist, and you can use our promo code when purchasing coffee at Coffee Brand Coffee. However you choose to support the channel, I do appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it on the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click the little bell icon so that you can be notified when I upload additional content. If you have a recommendation for your future topic, the recommendation for this topic actually came from my mother. Thank you, Mom. Leave a comment below. I will get it added to the list because the majority of the reaction content on this channel comes from viewer recommendations from people just like you. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves, and God bless. Go ahead and check out one of the links on the screen now to either subscribe to the channel and see the rest of the videos of the channel, or one of the carefully selected videos that you may wish to see that YouTube has used its algorithm to select for you.